and I was just letting him know that my shop couldn't fix the issue. And
every time this happens, I'm getting a screenshot. I promise. We're gonna have a collection of these.
Why is that such a good one?
It is.
I was trying not to laugh, and then Josh
There
started
we
laughing.
go.
Because I looked down at it, I'm like, oh gosh. And then it just wouldn't change back. Welcome back to another episode of My Mom Has Tourette's podcast, where this week, one of our moms went water skiing with Rob Lowe. I'm Josh.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Nathan.
And I'm Josh.
And I'm happy we nailed that intro finally. Let's go.
It was decent. I still think we could do it faster. I still think we could do it like snappier, you know? I'm Josh. Yeah. I'm Andrew. I'm Nathan. I'm Josh. And this week on the My Mother Has Tourette's podcast, I'm Josh.
All right,
let's keep
cut
going.
Josh's and just use Nathan's. That's fine.
All right.
So I mean, we usually start out with how we've been through the week. I would like to start this time simply because I finally showed my mom an episode of this podcast.
Oh, I remember. Okay.
And I ended up texting Josh because it was like 3 hours later and she'd seen it. And I was like, Josh, I don't know if this is going over well. I don't think my mom appreciates this podcast. And he was like,
no.
Your mom isn't even the one with Tourette's. And I was like, well, we don't need to reveal that to everybody. I'm just kidding.
Well, he was like, she hasn't even messaged me back. And I'm like, is it because she's busy? Or does she just not like it that much?
And I have no idea. And so I was like worried. And her first response was, so the whole time you're just giving interesting facts about each of your mothers? If you need any stories, let me know. And I was like, that's not it. So you definitely didn't watch what I sent you. But I appreciate that. It was an interesting time. So I still am not 100% sure if she likes it or not, but I'm waiting for her to one day be like, listen, this is amazing and this is genius. Or listen, son, you need to get off of this high horse right now.
You might have listened to like this isn't okay.
The whole minute.
Yeah, it was interesting because I also know that like if my mom listens to this and she hears something about one of your moms, especially if she like knows what it is, she'd be like, that's rude. That's not okay. And I'd be like, sorry, mom. I don't know. I can't even say it wasn't my idea because it kind of was. So my bad. Just be disappointed in me like my father.
I can't wait. I really have to show. I mean, I guess I could just send it to her directly. I don't know if my mom.
I send it to my mom every week. She listens.
I'm the worst. I should have. I'm the worst. I should just like. I told them that we've been doing this, but I feel like maybe they don't like fully know what. I don't know if my mom even knows what a podcast is, to be honest. Maybe she does. I'm sure my dad does because he does long drives, and maybe he. I don't know. He's normally up on the times more, but I'm gonna have to send her these and be like, yo, this is something we're doing.
I sent it to my mom. She's like, I like it a lot.
Okay.
His mom talks to me about the podcast in church Sundays on occasion.
Hilarious.
It's pretty great.
That's hilarious.
She tells me I'm her favorite, but I think she still thinks her son is her favorite.
Of course.
She's being nice.
If I was there, she'd say it to me too. So, you know.
True.
She just loves us and wants us to be happy. So.
I mean, that kind of demeanor is what gets you to water ski with Rob Lowe. I mean.
Yeah. It's unfortunate she has Tourette's, though. It's been a really difficult thing in her life. My mom, too.
Yeah. I wonder how the conversation went.
Let's not reenact it.
Probably a lot of stuttering, but yeah. Anyways. But yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much the highlight of my week. I didn't do a whole lot. What about you, Nathan?
Oh my gosh. Well, we're just currently deep in the throes of packing. And that's been fun. And I'm working in between it, but at least I work from home, so it's kind of like between calls, I'm just doing crap. It's convenient. There's definite like convenience aspect of working from home. And my wife is currently working as a teacher, so she's off during this month, like pretty much all of July, which is nice. So she's been between packing, chilling instead of having to work. So it's been a little bit easier. But my goodness, we have just been so constantly busy. And also, her family was over for like 3 days, so that adds to the busyness because
Yeah.
it's just a matter of spending some time with them too, and also packing. It's going fine. Like we're moving. Like as of what we're like when this episode is being released is also the day that we're moving. So,
Oh, yeah.
by when this is out, we'll be probably done moving, and that's interesting to think about. We're like a week away from it, so one last week of that. But no, my week's been, imagine like if you've ever moved, it's been like that. But we have been
Very insightful.
well, where we live rather near a Trader Joe's.
Ooh.
And Trader Joe's is a pretty good time. If you've never been to a Trader Joe's, go to a Trader Joe's. It's
I've actually not been to one.
oh my gosh, go to a
Neither
Trader
have
Heard
I.
Joe's.
good things though.
That's the problem is I don't think there's one. No, I think there's a Trader Joe's. Like
There's
near
one somewhere
Pittsburgh
close
or
to me, yeah.
Robinson, Pittsburgh, something like that.
Sounds about right.
You
yeah.
should take a trip. It's probably not that far. My wife loves Trader Joe's so much that where we were living, we're like 2 hours away from, like before, and where we're going back to now. We're like 2 hours away from a Trader Joe's, and once in a while we'll make a trip down to there because she loves it so much, and we just like stock up on groceries from there. Lots of good food. I mean, they just have like mostly all their own branded stuff, so it's just unique. They had really go out of their way to put some stock very interesting, unique things. Like every time I feel like if I go there once like a month, I'll find some fruit I've never heard of just in their sections. So it's just a cool place. Lots of cool stuff.
Bring on the kumquats.
Oh yes, and I've heard of
Is
that.
that even
one.
a fruit?
It is.
Sounds like a vegetable. It's dumb.
It kind of does a little bit. No, it is a fruit. We went to Trader Joe's earlier and like dropped like $200 because it's the last time we're going to be going to for a while. So
Sure.
yeah.
So my question. Oh, go ahead. My bad.
I was just going to basically say, in conclusion, I packed. So what's up?
Yeah. So since you started, how long have you been working from home? Let's start there.
November 2021.
So when between November 2021 and now, did you get super into like crock pot meals? Because that's exactly what I did when I started working from home. And I was like, I can just get this done. Crock pot meals are amazing when you work from home.
Crock pot meals are amazing always because they're so
True.
dang easy. Throw some chicken in the crock pot, throw some other crap in it, and say, okay, you do your thing. I'll come back and meet you later for a delicious surprise. So it's easy. It's so easy. Well, I'm gonna be honest. My wife does most of the cooking because I just don't enjoy it, but I try to help when I can. But we do definitely do some crock pot meals when we can because it's so easy and makes delicious, beautiful things. Chicken is a very common staple in that.
I have an idea.
Oh,
What's your idea, homie?
Light bulb
I will
over
tell
Josh's
you
head.
at the end.
Why don't you, instead of telling us at the
Why
end,
are you bringing it up now?
Yeah. How about
You
instead
did.
of that,
Oh, I did. Okay.
instead of the light bulb idea, why don't we ask you how your week was?
Yeah,
and
how
we
was
can
Josh's
talk about your
week?
light bulb idea.
My week was boring. I worked a lot. And then I saw my wife and my kids. They came out to visit.
That's always good.
And it rained. But we swam in the pool. I got sunburnt. So that was annoying.
Where did you get sunburnt?
Everywhere. My head, my shoulders, my arms, my back.
I'm very disappointed that you missed the opportunities to say your knees and toes as well.
Nah. I stay relatively well covered. Other than that, it's been good. Just working a lot. It was a terrible week at work.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So
Yeah.
it's all right. Glad it's
Anything
over.
you wish to share? I know when you messaged me, you were just like, I'm pooping and I'm angry. I'm mad at work. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh boy.
Well,
before you share that, how is it getting a sunburn on your head? That sounds terrible.
it doesn't hurt at all.
Okay. Weird. Continue.
I just know it's warm. But like it's my arms and shoulder that is bothering me.
Yeah, that
Like,
sucks.
So, the stinging feeling.
What were you mad about?
Monday, I had to train someone.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to do a little extra work because I'm training, so I had a road test.
Sure.
So the day ended up being 14 hours. And my normal day is usually like 12. Tuesday, I think, was one of the only decent days we had. Then Wednesday, there was a trailer tire that had a little bit of an issue, but we were told we could run with it. So I let the guy know that I meet up with, because we swap trailers. Like, he comes from Kentucky, I come from PA. We meet halfway, swap the trailers, and then go back. And I was just letting him know that my shop couldn't fix the issue. And
Every time this happens, I'm getting a screenshot. I promise. We're gonna have a collection of these.
Why is that such a good one?
It is.
I was trying not to laugh, and then Josh
There
started laughing.
we go.
because I looked down at it, I'm like, oh gosh. And then it just wouldn't
Oh.
change back.
Continue. I don't know why it does that, man.
Oh, well, the guy, oh, here we go. Oh, okay, so the guy
Sorry.
said, oh, here we go.
What's going
Yes.
on?
Yes, I love it. Got another one.
Why?
Bob.
There's got to be an episode of just Josh's computer faces.
Why
It's still
does it
shots
keep
we find.
freezing? And how does it keep?
It's gonna be a slideshow of just all of my like.
It keeps freezing at the perfect spots, and I don't know how
It's going to
does
be
it.
all of Josh's Tourette's
Ooh.
moments that are hereditary.
That's fair. That's fair. Oh, this is like a chat GPT taking over your computer, and it just knows when to freeze. All right,
Oh.
continue.
Goodness. All right. So the guy didn't want to drive the trailer
Mhm.
with the tire issue, forced us to get it fixed, ended up working 16 hours that day.
Mhm.
The next day was all right. And then Friday, we started our day with a flat tire on the trailer. Turned out to be another long day. So I finished with 67 hours. And I was tired. It was a long
Hey.
week. So,
Why was yawning so much?
I
Yeah,
can
that sucks,
imagine.
dude. Like that's a long.
Yeah.
That's a what does your average week look like? I mean, maybe not like what you do,
62.
but 62 is still a lot.
Yeah, but it's expected. 67 if I'm not working a Saturday. 67 hours in 5 days is a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Sounds like a lot.
No doubt. I know one thing that I forgot to mention, probably just because it happened yesterday. So I went into the furniture store to make a payment on some of my furniture that I have.
Oh, can I say?
And
Can I say where it is?
Go for it.
Rent a Center.
Sure, yeah.
You
So-
said go for it.
So I walked in, and I'm friends with everybody that works there because that's just the type of person I am. But I actually knew one person from high school. And so I walk in and I see her sitting on the ground, like way far in the back, like behind these open doors into the employee area. And she just looks over and screams. She says, "Great timing, Andrew. Please come help me." And I'm like, "What the heck?" So I walk through, like, I walk all the way through the store. And when I get to the back, she's sitting on the ground and there was a stove in front of her. And it looks like glass shattered everywhere on her, and next to her, like, I see these like crimson red napkins or paper towels, just like 8 or 9 of them. And I'm like, oh gosh, she's bleeding to death. Like, how come your employees aren't here helping you? Like, what's wrong with them? So like I just go into this like straight up maniacal robotic, I'm just going to focus on the issue. So like I'm like sweeping off all of this glass, like trying to make sure there's nothing on her, trying to pat her down, and like I took a vacuum and like sucked the glass that was over top of her. I was just like, don't move. So we're doing this, and then she's like, I help her get up and she walks away. And I'm like, so after I like calm down a bit, I'm like, so do we need to take you to the hospital? Like, are you okay? And she's like, why would I need to go to the hospital? I'm like, look, do you see this? Like, there's blood. And she's like, no. She was cleaning off a stove and there was like rust and stuff inside of it. So I'm like, after she told me that, I was like, I really thought you were bleeding. And I thought like you were about to die. Like you hit your carotid or something and I didn't know about it. I don't know. So she
Oh.
thought that was hilarious. But yeah, that was an interesting time. I had to stay there for like another 45 minutes because I was like trying to get down off of my like adrenaline high because I thought someone was dying. It was quite This is also why I need to write down what happens to me in a week because unless something Josh said reminded me of that was gonna just never be brought up.
You were just at the right place at the right time.
That's exactly what happened. Apparently, she said it happened like maybe a minute before I got in there. It's like, huh, interesting.
Andrew, my hero.
Interesting time.
The
Yeah.
doctor shows up in his TARDIS.
So I was like, so do I get like any sort of discount for this, or because you didn't die? That'd be. I mean, that's quid pro quo, buddy.
Did you say how she broke the glass?
Yeah, she was just. So she took the front handle off the stove, just trying to wipe some things down, and she had to take I think she took the front glass off, so she like took the screws out of it, and when she went to put one of the screws back in, the whole thing just shattered.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and it like popcorn shattered, like it was just all over the place, and it just
Wow.
yeah. But that's
Well, I'm glad she's
all
okay.
yeah, me too. That's the biggest news I have. But speaking of news, we should probably jump into the gaming news.
Gaming news of the week.
News. So before we get into gaming news, I want to share a fun fact. So,
so what you're telling me is you're ruining my perfect segue.
No, actually, well, I was gonna say this, but then your perfect segue happened, and I decided to ruin it. Did you know that you can tell the gender of an ant by submerging it in water?
Is when it drowns, does it like show you its parts or something? Like, how's that work?
That's a weird thing to say, Andrew. Yeah. We can unpack that later. So basically, if it sinks, girl ant. If it floats, boy ant.
Oh, so it's one of those like, if it doesn't sink, it's a witch.
It's got a built-in life saver.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I'm not that.
This
could go straight off the road.
Gaming news.
Hold
on. All right, what is our first one here? Our first one here, my friends, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I don't know what order we're doing it in, so I'll just do it in the order that was sent to me. All right, so we've been talking about in the past that FTC trial, that good old
Federal
Microsoft.
Trade Commission.
Yeah, what are you saying? Federal Trade Commission that Xbox and Microsoft are going through. We've talked about it a little bit on the podcast in the past, and some people I think were a little bit worried that Xbox, because the whole thing is like Xbox is acquiring Activision Blizzard, which is kind of a big deal. And
$69 billion.
Yeah, it's crazy. But people were worried that Call of Duty was going to end up becoming exclusive to Xbox. And apparently Microsoft and Xbox in general have said like multiple times, like verbally and written statements out like to the public, you know, they're not going to make Call of Duty, which, you know, is like, obviously if somebody has been PlayStation person forever, you know, they don't want to have to go buy an Xbox to play Call of Duty when they've been playing Call of Duty on PlayStation all this times, or, you know, PC, that sort of thing. So basically they've said that they're not going to make Call of Duty. Yeah, well, this is what they've said. They said they're not going to make Call of Duty Xbox exclusive, which is good. But like people, like companies say crap and then just do the opposite. But basically, in part of this whole trial that's going on, which is a big thing that we could go into, and we're not going to right now. So if you don't know, you might want to look into it because there's a lot going on in the background with that. But they actually went through internal documents and like emails and chats and stuff with Microsoft. And there's been not a single, like the actual like article title is FTC trial, nearly 1 million documents could not catch Xbox saying it would make Call of Duty exclusive. So that's actually good news because at this point it pretty much confirms, because there's zero evidence that they've ever talked about making it exclusive. So like, it's probably not going to happen. So if you're worried, you know, perhaps Call of Duty was going to end up being Xbox exclusive, I'm going to say right now, I'm calling it right now, it's not going to happen. So I'm expecting some lawsuits in the future if I'm wrong. Gaming news, Article 2. And one underlying theme of these gaming news articles is that they all have to do with gaming. Battalion 1944 dev gives all Kickstarter backers a full, no questions asked refund. So if any of that made no sense to you, you are like me, where I read this and then I learned a lot. So basically...
Explain Kickstarter.
Oh my gosh, explain Kickstarter? Okay, I'll explain H2O first. So Kickstarter is basically like an online it's a website, like a platform where like I can be, or like a company or somebody, whatever, I can be like, yo, I have this great idea for something. I'm going to lay this all out here for you. You guys give me money and I'll make it happen. And that's the basic idea of Kickstarter, where like I need funding. I have a cool idea and I want to make it real. So if you guys fund me, we'll make it real. And there's so much more to it, but it's actually a fantastic place, fantastic website. It's done a lot of good. It's brought a lot of good things out. But Battalion 1944, I guess, is one of those ideas. It is a game that was created. If you don't know anything about it, it's basically kind of like one of those. It's like a multiplayer game, and I guess it came out like early access came out in 2019. I don't know exactly when it was fully released, if it ever did. But basically, it has to do, I believe it's kind of like an old war game, that sort of thing. What was, this is really showing how much I know about the world. What war was going on? Was that World War II during 1944? Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of like a World War II game, but apparently they wanted to go back to the basics of like a good shooter is kind of like their whole thing, is like they just wanted to make a really good shooter. And I don't know exactly, I've not followed much about this game myself. However, apparently it just kind of didn't really live up to the promises that they initially had set with the Kickstarter, which is a very sadly common thing in Kickstarters, because people are like, oh, I have this great idea, but then don't realize how much time, work, effort, money, everything goes into making a good idea actually happen. So apparently they fell short of a lot of their promises. So they said, well, all right, we didn't do what we said we were going to do. So they're giving back, what's the actual number? 317,281 euros to the 10,096 backers of this game. They're giving it all back, saying, okay, we didn't do what we were supposed to do, so take your money back. And that's insane. That means they had some money to begin with, because I don't know where they get that money if they did not already put that into the game. So that, I'm sure that they've made some solid money from the game, but afterward that they were able to sustain it and that sort of thing. But that's just really, there's something to say about the company. I guess it's called Bulkhead is the company. It's something to say about them that they would do something like that, because that's just very generous.
What did we say that came out in dollars?
Oh gosh, I don't know the exact number, but it's like
it's somewhere close to
$500,000. Yeah. I could pull up a calculator, but it's crazy. Like that's not a very common thing. There's the whole like No Man's Sky. Well, we're just going to turn around and make it as good as we said, and then better. And they go from like nothing to being like winning Game of the Year and stuff, and like constantly winning awards every year, because they're constantly updating it, making it better. And like No Man's Sky is an incredible game right now. I'm really only segueing into No Man's Sky because that was like basically, I don't know if it was a Kickstarter, but it was kind of like they were forced to put the game out well before it was ready, and all of the things they promised were just not in the game, and people were like, what is this crap that we paid for? We spent $60 and it's like nothing. It's like they lied to us. I remember
they advertised this beautiful game. They'll be like, it's gonna be so great, and it came out and everybody's like, worst game ever. Terrible. They dogged it, and then they updated it and boom. Now it's winning all these awards.
Yeah, and that's been like what? I'm gonna throw out a number. 5 years now. Years. I don't know how long it's been out now. Maybe 4 years, but like ever since then. Well, after that release, I'm just harping on No Man's Sky real fast because I love it so much, and I love what they did with the game, and it makes me very happy. So, they after the first. There's a great video on YouTube you should absolutely watch if you haven't. It's called The Engoodening of No Man's Sky, and if you haven't, just watch it because it's absolutely incredible. However, it details everything that it's so much more than what I'm saying. However, game went out, everyone was like, wow, this is just a huge steaming pile of garbage, and then they went silent. And everyone was like, oh great, they're going to run with the money. They made us all these promises. They took all this money, and then they're just not going to address any of this. And then one day, like a certain amount of months later, I don't know when, they said, here's a patch. And then one day, maybe another few weeks or months later, said, here's another patch. And they just slowly started just bringing out these updates. No matter what happened, they could have just given up, but they just kept going and going and going and bringing out more and more updates. And slowly the community started to turn over and realize what they were doing, and they were really making good on their initial failure. Because it was just the whole idea of, I have all these great ideas. Like, anybody can be an ideas man, but making something happen is so different from just, oh, I have great ideas and I can give you those. Because an idea is just that, but whenever you actually are able to turn it into something, you realize just how much work goes into this stuff. And No Man's Sky was a huge example of that. But everyone just absolutely thinks that's an incredible game now and an incredible developer. And they're still constantly putting out these free updates to this game to this day. And anyway, let's move on to the next gaming news segment. And that, my friends, this is something I've been waiting for my entire life. My entire life has been leading to this single moment. You ready? I'm excited. Are you excited? I'm so excited, and you don't even know what I'm excited about. Diablo IV Players are using an overpowered druid build to do billions of points of damage in a single hit.
What?
Billions of points of damage. Do you know how many millions that is? Like, a lot of millions, man.
What?
Oh my gosh.
I can't even count that high, and they're
Diablo
doing it in one hit?
Diablo 4 came out, like, this year. And then, boys, ladies and gentlemen, people of the court. Oh my gosh, people. Dude, last week, a Diablo 4 streamer, Moxie, they hit the highest damage ever in a game. 957,504 damage. Dude, that's almost a billion. Or 105. And then, oh my gosh, it didn't take long for Moxie to break through the billion barrier with an incredible 1.8 billion hit. Can you believe it, ladies and gentlemen?
It's ridiculous.
Can you believe it?
Absolutely ridiculous.
Since
it's
then,
too funny.
A Diablo 4 YouTuber called Echo Hack posted a screenshot showing a 2.1 billion hit.
No, he didn't. I don't believe it.
I can't even. I honestly feel like this article's a lie. I'm gonna find out after. I have to look into this because this is like making my life worth it. So basically,
Druids have been in the news a lot lately.
It's always the Druids. It's
oh boy, we don't got to talk about that though. Family friendly, please.
Oh boy, I actually don't know what he's talking about, so I just went with it. But now I'm not going to. Josh, tisk, no. So Moxie is currently using a Druid werewolf build, dubbed, it's all caps, Lightning Shred 2.0, that lets the character infinitely teleport to its enemies and make them vulnerable. It's worth pointing out the importance of the Stormclaw aspect for this build.
Emotionally.
Yes.
Stormclaw aspect, boy, the Stormclaw aspect is so important. It's so important. This deals additional lightning damage to the target and surrounding enemies on critical strikes with the Shred skill. Crazy, right? I didn't know that. So many little things about this game that just come out and you just be like, wow, man, I just learned something new today. So Stormclaw scales the lightning damage in a way that appears beyond the boundaries Diablo 4 has established via what's called the double dip damage. Oh my gosh, I love the alliteration. Oh, the double dip damage, the DDD. Moxie explains what's happening in more detail in a video. And I'm not going to share that video. Boy, oh boy. I don't know anything about Diablo 4, but I'm excited.
Listen, it's so funny because I get together with some friends once a week, and there's about 2 or 3 of them that are huge Diablo fans.
Really?
One of them tried to. He came over to my house one day. He was like, "I'm gonna put my my name on your PlayStation so that you can play Diablo with me. I really want you to play it." I was like, "All right, whatever." First of all, I didn't realize until I played it that Diablo is 1000% like a power fantasy game. The whole idea is just to walk through, do massive amounts of damage to things, and feel invulnerable, and like you're on top of the world.
That sounds about right.
And so one week I get there, and one of these guys is complaining. He's like, "Oh, I picked this class. You know, they're so good. You know, I have all these minions, and I can do all this damage, and it's crazy." And then next week he says, "Well, oh my goodness, I don't know what happened, but like they nerfed it into the ground, and now if you're a rogue, you can just walk through dungeons and you don't even have to hit anything. Some daggers circle around you, and then and then now this week it's this guy does 2 million damage. So I can't wait to hear it when I hang out with them on Wednesday, because they're gonna be like, "This is so overpowered, it's crazy." And I'm like, "You're complaining about the fact that this game that's a power fantasy is let someone living out a power fantasy in a different way, and you're mad because it's stronger than your power fantasy."
That's
Just
hilarious.
crazy to me.
That's very, very accurate from what I understand those games are. I've played a little bit of Diablo 3 because, believe it or not, my wife enjoys Diablo 3. I've only played a little bit. I don't know anything about Diablo 4. I don't know if it's exactly the same as all the other ones. I've maybe beat the first boss or two in 3. I never really played that much of it. Josh is frozen again.
Yes. I missed
you
that
missed
one.
it.
Dang it.
Oh, no.
Flippity gibbets.
Well, hey Andrew, if you watch the My Mom Has Tourette's podcast coming out every Sunday, I'm just saying you might be able to get that screenshot. However,
I'm gonna have to subscribe, follow, and like and comment so that I don't forget about that.
Man, subscribe, lament, and share the video.
Llamas podcast
with your llamas, mamas, and I think maybe we'll get to where we need to be. That's my guess. But yeah, Diablo 3, man, that's not what we're talking about.
It was 4.
Right on, brother.
It's number 4, brother.
Brother. Oh my goodness. But yeah, Diablo's just never my thing. I tried. I'm realizing after starting this podcast, I'm much more of a niche gamer than I thought I was, because I'm talking about Diablo. I'm like, this game's too easy, and then I play. Oh my god, I don't even want to talk about the name of Escape from Tarkov, but I play that and I'm like, this is too difficult. It's not fun, And now I'm like, and then I start playing it more, and I'm like, oh, now it's actually too easy. You just gotta escape. It's yeah, and so now I'm playing Talos Principle, and I'm just sitting here thinking this is actually a pretty fun game. So I'm waiting for the point where I get to the point where I'm like, no, this game's terrible. It's too easy, and it's gonna happen, I'm sure.
Hey.
So I can't wait to look at that. But I mean, with that in mind, how far, Josh? How far did you get this week?
I completed world number 4.
Dope.
And that led me to a question. This is what, second week we've been playing? What are we thinking of it so far?
I mean, I enjoy it. Like I said, I think it's really interesting. It's still a little bit simple right now. I don't think there's been enough. I don't think I've. Oh, excuse me. I don't think I've gotten far enough and introduced enough mechanics to be overwhelmed yet. So I haven't hit that man, I'm really stuck yet. But I also think I have ADD because I just kept going off the rails. I would partially complete a puzzle, and I'd be like, you know what? This voice in the sky told me I don't have to finish these puzzles, so I'm going to go to another one just because. And so I do, and then I find something, and I was like, oh, I see a star over here. Let me stop what I'm doing and try to figure out how to get it.
Fair enough.
So I'm just all over the place.
Well, I've played the game before, so I'm a little bit biased because I'm the one who chose it. I freaking love this game. I mean, it definitely gets harder than what Andrew's experienced so far. We have a good bit left to complete of the game, but we're all trying to stay around the same place in the game, around the same point, world, whatever, level, that sort of thing. Just so we're all keeping around kind of where we can talk about the same things and not have to hold back with what we're talking about because one person has gotten way ahead of the rest, that sort of thing. So I love the game though. I think it's fantastic.
This has nothing to do about the game, but with this being our second game and how things have been going, I'm very excited to when we get to our first game that none of us have ever played before. And the kind of content that's going to come out of that.
It's going to be interesting.
But in related to this game, I like it. I'm excited to see the end. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, comparing this game to Escape from Tarkov. Because the last Escape from Tarkov video we did was our rating on it. And how, it having no story tanked the ratings for us. And so there's some things I've been thinking about this according to our rating system that I'm really interested to see once most likely none of us have a problem with this game, so we're going to play it to completion. things. I don't know if anything's going to change, but right now all three of us are comfortable with it. But I'm really interested to see how it gets played out in the ratings because there's some things I've been thinking about, and we're not going to talk about it now. But I'm very curious. I'm excited to get to that point and have that conversation.
You listen here, sir. You've done this twice now. So you're going to give us one snippet of one thing you want to talk about that you're looking forward to. So do it now.
Josh is like no, Josh, you're like the end of an episode with a cliffhanger. That's what you are.
Yes,
Well,
that's what
there
you've
you
done
go.
twice today.
Come back for more.
All right. Well, who wants to go first about talking
I
about
will.
their actual? Okay. Do you want to go?
I will.
Great.
So I think I have more questions about today than I did when I first started.
Okay.
Though when I first started playing last week, it was more of like, this is new. But today, completing World 4, a lot happened, and I'm kind of confused by some things. So the first thing I have is I was just walking up. So I remember Andrew talking about how he tried jumping off the world, tried going in the water, and it just kept killing him. And he's like, they have all these platforms for you to get onto, but it's like teasing you just to go kill yourself. And so I was like leaning over the edge. I'm like, no, I'm not going to fall. But I remember Nathan saying like sometimes the stars are in places you don't expect them. I'm like, but what if they're like under the cliff? Like, should I fall? I'm like, no, I don't have a whole lot of time to play this week. So I ran up the hill because World 4, you start at the bottom of the hill next to the computer and you go up. And so I go up and I start completing the puzzles. And there's the first puzzle, I think, on the right has a star. So you walk in and you go over to the left, and then to the left again, and there's a star locked. And so I spent a little bit of time trying to figure the star out, and I couldn't. So I completed all the other puzzles and got down to the end. And well, back up because I'm skipping.
Every time now. It's like it knows.
But when you go up the hill, I turned left. So like I looked all over on the right side, but as soon as I went looking on the left side, the whole thing just turned into slow-mo. And Elohim just started talking. Everything got like real gray and the flowers turned like this vibrant color. And I'm like, what the heck did I just do? And then he's like, I forget what he said, but basically he was like, I am Elohim. Be gone. And then like the darkness just disappeared. I'm like, what? So I was super confused by that. I thought I did something because like it never happened over here. So I don't know if it triggered because I went looking around the left side of the map, or it was because my time that I spent in that world. Like maybe if I was doing the puzzles, but I was still in that world that long, that little, I wouldn't call it a cutscene because it happened while I was still doing stuff, if it would have happened. But completely was not expecting that. That like scared me. Not like just like what the heck.
Real fast, Josh. Andrew, do you know who he's talking about?
For half a second, I thought I did, but I don't recognize it.
Yeah, like is he talking about that Ibrahim guy? You keep saying Elohim.
Oh my gosh! I wrote Elohim.
So
it is
remember?
Elohim.
Dude, we've been playing this game for 2 weeks. It's Jose. What are you doing?
Oh, that's fair.
All right, I'm going to change his name. Jose was speaking to me.
Yeah, good old Marcus was he was talking to me the other day. All right, so Josh, did you have anything else to add?
About
Did you end up figuring
Marcus?
out Did you ever end up figuring out the star?
Yeah, we're going to get to that
Okay,
because some other things happened.
Now, Andrew, did you end up getting the star in that world?
Let's see, World 4? I think I did, but I played
There's only
that
one star.
like last week. Yeah, I think I got it then.
World
I did
4
get 1 star
is where the
in
mirrors
World
start.
5, I think.
What, Josh?
Oh, the mirrors.
World 4 only has 1 star, and it's the beginning of the mirrors.
Okay.
The reflecting the lasers.
Yeah.
So as soon as Marcus stopped talking to me in his deep voice, a blue robot showed up. I don't know if I'm supposed to spend much time into that because they just randomly appear and then sometimes they just stand there. Sometimes they walk and then they just disappear.
The hologram.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to call him the blue guy.
All right,
Robert
go
the Blue
for it.
Guy.
No, he'll be
But-
Marcus. There's Elohim and Marcus. That's fine. Continue.
We're going to talk about the star. Very
All right.
confused.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
So I completed all the puzzle pieces on that world. At the very end, once you come up the main path, you can see the blue orb where that woman talks to you.
Alexandria.
So I went, I got it. I listened to her little cutscene. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know how to get this. I tried taking pieces out of the purple barrier and it wouldn't let me. And I'm like, I have no idea how to activate the red laser. Because in World 4, you learn, so like there's a laser coming out of the wall and you got to reflect it with this mirror to shoot like this opening that charges itself up with the laser. And so there is a blue laser on the first portal and you just point it at the wall, charges it, the barrier comes up and you get the puzzle piece. But where the star is, there's a red charge port, but there's no way to get a beam in there because there's no red laser reflecting in there.
I think I remember which one you're talking about.
So I was like, Nathan said he was cool if we looked it up. I'm just gonna look up how to get the red star or the star. First video, all right, I watched. Dude comes up, goes to the very last portal on the right, and then he
Got him.
picks the red laser up and points it to a tree. And there is one of the mirrors sitting in the tree.
Oh, I didn't get that one.
So I go to look, and I'm like, all right, I'm watching the YouTube video. There's two trees. There's one here, and then the one next to it has the mirror in it. But when I'm looking at my game, there's only one tree, and there's nothing in the tree. So I kept replaying it over and over again. I'm like, this is the same exact puzzle, the same name, because like when you walk through the barrier, it gives you like a little catchy nickname to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, kept reading the name. I was like, it's the same puzzle. I picked up the same piece he did the same thing, but I could never find that second tree. I'm like, I couldn't figure that out. So I backed out of that YouTube video and watched a second YouTube video. The guy went to a completely different puzzle, reflected the red laser off of that puzzle. It's the puzzles where, Andrew, if you remember, you got the two beams that come like they go doing like this, but then they're meeting each other, and it's called like above.
Okay. Yeah,
and
I
you
know
got to
that
stand
one.
on that platform to shoot it down.
Mm-hmm.
He connected the red laser to the mirror, and there's a pillar in that main pathway that you walk up, and on that pillar is the mirror. So he shot it to that pillar. Then you go back to the first puzzle, go in there, then you connect to that pillar, and it comes down, and then you can charge that portal, and then you can open up and get the star. So not only did the first video I watch not have the tree that he had a tree where I didn't, and in that tree was a mirror. In the second video that I watched that taught me how to complete it, when he walked out of there, he picked up a bucket of paint off the ground and walked around with it, and I could not find that bucket of paint. So I got the star, but I'm very confused.
Well, one thing
I can send the video to you.
That's what I'm talking about. The whole thinking outside the box, straight up going to another puzzle and like finding something outside of the puzzles to aim at so that you can link them that way. That's what the stars are. The stars are like, we're going to make you completely think outside the box. And they're probably the hardest puzzles in the game just because they really make you like, I just keep saying think outside the box, but that's exactly what they do. Like you have all these different...
Right now, I'm dumb. And the stars are gonna be hard to find.
You say that again, I'm gonna buy like a plane ticket to your house just to slap you, and then I'm gonna go home.
I'm dumb. You won't.
Stomp, 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 stomp. Door shuts. Q. Whatever. It's good. It's good. All right. Yeah, it's confusing. What the heck are you talking about? Paint bucket.
I get to thinking outside of the box, but my first question is that first video was the same exact portal I was in. But why was his mirror in a tree that did not exist in my game? Because he didn't redirect to that pillar, the second video. His was literally in a tree that did not exist in my game.
This is freaking me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
And then, so when the second video,
you might need to send me these.
I will. The second video, he's like, you see that pillar there? So I looked, I'm like, oh, the pillar is there. And it let me connect to the thing there. But he walked out and there was literally something glowing on the ground and he picked it up and it said bucket of paint. I'm like, what? Did I miss that? So I turned around and I could not find anything. And I'm like, what does a bucket of paint have anything to do with this game?
Did you type in Talos Principle when you were looking for these games, or are these like from different games?
It was the game. It was 100% the game.
I thought maybe you maybe accidentally typed Minecraft in, or maybe Tarkov. Maybe that was a tree
Let's
thing.
be real. That would be a story
I
element Tarkov doesn't
in
have.
Talos Principle World 4-star.
Oh, Josh, I was totally kidding with you. You don't need to prove it to me.
The first video came out in 2014. Where he points it in a tree. The second video with the paint came out in 2016.
And this is the same.
Josh is going full Sunny in Philadelphia right now, like the meme of the guy like trying to explain everything with the strings.
Oh, I love him. He's hilarious.
Good old Charlie Day.
Horrible bosses. Oh, he's great.
That's funny.
Andrew, my friend, what did you think about the Talos Principle this week? How was your experience?
It was good. I got through the rest of World 4, and just about done with 5. Like I said, my ADD got the best of me this time, but I found at least 2 stars. One of them I found was trying to remember. One of them I believe was in World 4. I can't remember the name of the puzzle. But I had to basically, there were I think there were 2 floating mines and there were like 3 or 4 turrets, but it was basically like an open square, and you had to get you had to take a box and put it on a pressure plate so that and then you had to take the jammer and try to jam one of the guns while the other mines tried to blow them up. And it was pretty easy to see the star because it was like just one of those ones where it's like you finish the level, you get the piece, and you just look straight ahead, and it's like, hey, here's the star. Figure out a way to get it. And so it was just kind of teasing me. So that one got me for a while. I was running around, and I ended up finding I went back towards the very beginning of the puzzle, I think, and I was just like, I got to the point where, because it was the level that was introducing you to like the blocks and how to use them. I took a block and I was like walking around everywhere trying to jump up on walls and stuff, and that wasn't what you were supposed to do because I couldn't, I guess.
I think it's World 5.
Oh, maybe it is. You're right.
Because I think the blocks are introduced in World 5.
Okay.
Yeah, the blocks aren't in 4.
Gotcha. So I must have found 2 of them in World 5 then. Because I remember that, and I ended up going to the front of the puzzle, like next to the purple gate, and I was just like detectivizing every little square inch at that point, trying to find like a hidden platform. And then I ended up finding a hidden switch, and I was like, what the heck is this? So I hit the switch, and then the gate was open. I was like, wow, that's all I had to do. I'm trying to like stack blocks on top of each other and like jump and stack it underneath me at the same time. No, I just had to find the switch. That was pretty simple, but also made me feel dumb.
There are a good few random hidden switches in the levels. Sometimes it's just a matter of going around the edge of the map and finding the right corner where it's hidden. So,
indeed. And the other one that I found, I believe, was also in World 5. I had to It was definitely one where you had to think outside the box. I had just kind of, I mean, I stumbled on it by complete chance, to be completely honest. It wasn't because I was very intelligent or wise and figured out what to do, but it was. So there was a puzzle where you had to, um, in order to unlock the star, you had to take one of the reflector tripods, and you actually, if you looked at the beginning stage or beginning of the puzzle, you can see way off in the distance. It's like directly across from the puzzle that you're on, but there's like a laser pad that you would have to use to unlock a door, but there was just a pad on your puzzle, not the laser, and you had to use the laser from another puzzle across from you. And I just happened to be carrying the thing in something like highlighted when I went past, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" And I was like, "Oh, well, that was easy." So it took like 3 seconds to figure that one out just by sheer dumb luck. So it was just doink, and then it's like, "Oh, cool! I got 2 stars. This is awesome." But
I have a question.
I have an answer, hopefully.
Are the blocks the second tool that you unlock in that main room? Because I
Yes.
just got the pieces for
Mhm.
that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what you'll be doing next. You're just behind him. So
Well, I might go back to all the other worlds and get the gold stars before I
it's
go on to
fun.
5.
It's worth doing if you don't mind like putting in the extra time. It's very you feel accomplished when you figure them out because they're always like just a little
There
bit
was
more
2
difficult.
or 3 that there's one super easy that we got.
I believe it's
Mhm.
3.
But the rest, I didn't really think much about them, so probably like to go back and get them, and then I'll move on to 5 and the
Yeah.
rest.
World 3 is
Yeah,
the
I'll
first
probably.
obvious star where it's just behind a blue barrier in one of the puzzles. So it kind of introduces you to them in a way.
So why do you think they chose to put it in World 3 instead of World 1 with all the other
You need to
introducing?
pay attention to what Nathan said. He said 3 was the first obvious one, so there might be other ones that they are
Well, I
adding.
think there are 1 and 2, and I heard that, but I'm just like, it's obvious for a reason because 3 stood out. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like, oh crap, it's there. It's like, oh, it's right in front of me.
If I
So,
had to take an educated guess, I would say, just for I could see that could be for replay value. If you get so many levels ahead and then you're like, oh, well, I found one, but there wasn't any behind here. It's going to make you want to backtrack, and it's going to make you want to play that game longer. Or it's going to make you want to complete it and then be like, oh, maybe I should go back and try to find all these stars. I think it's mainly like a playtime thing. If you find hidden little things, it's gonna pique your curiosity. It's gonna make you want to go back and try to find everything else. It's my guess.
I mean, I could definitely see that. I can't speak for the devs. I don't know what the devs intended by putting the most obvious star, like the first one that really like makes you want to get it because you're aware that it's there if you hadn't done a bunch of extra like searching around the map. Um basically I think the puzzles in the first 2 worlds are just too simple to make like an
That's fair.
extra. Like they're very, very simple. World 1, absolutely. I could see it being added in World 2, but World 3 is when the puzzles started getting a little bit more complicated and they had more of like a way to make a additional level of difficulty in one of the puzzles to get the star if you did things correctly or if you figured out how to do things correctly
well,
to also get the star.
I know I asked the question, but the more I think about it, World 1 was like the beginning of the game. World 2 was a little bit more expression of that first set of mechanics. World 3 is really the first introduction you get to the stars. Then World 4 immediately jumps into the lasers,
Collectors,
and then
yeah.
World 5 goes into the blocks. So maybe they chose World 3 because you're learning something new every world, and World 3 would be where you learn about the stars.
Could be.
Yeah, yeah. But you also
Okay.
you could stumble upon at least the path to the stars in the first 2 pretty easily without even knowing about them if you just like
Well, I didn't know
ran into
about them.
them.
World
Yeah,
3 is really
exactly.
like you're on the path and you see
Yeah.
the star.
But then
So.
it kind of like I think it does it well because then let's say you leave World 3, you look at the sign where it shows all the little Tetris blocks and then like the sigils and the star and you see the stars crossed off and you're like, "Oh, wait." And you look back at the other signs from World 1 and 2, you're like, "There were stars in these worlds. I got to go back and yeah." So like I
Well, not
absolutely
only
see what
that,
Andrew was saying.
World 3 has 2 stars, and
true,
only one of
true.
them's obvious. So you come out
Mhm.
You're like,
and you see
"There's
the sign,
another
you're like,
one?"
wait a minute, there's another one I never saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say probably the easiest, like most obvious and easiest one is in World 3 is that one because like it's really it doesn't take like it makes you add an extra layer of okay, I got to jam this door, bring in 2 jammers, jam it from the inside, bring jammer through next one, jam, 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 and then like you just like bring them all the way through and you can complete it without bringing all of them, but if you bring all of them then you get that last jammer to jam the door with the star, but you could win
Yeah.
without that, so it's just a matter of like you realizing you can do that. So really I think the game does a good job of like teaching you all the different little things you can do. But I just love the star aspect of the game because it really, I think it adds another layer to like the overall, at least at the beginning, pretty basic but fun, interesting,
Yeah, all
mysterious
the
puzzle game.
different types of like I guess we'll call them interactable objects, all these jammers are making me super jelly about figuring out what's coming next. But I know one thing that I will tell you, Josh, is hopefully not making the same mistake I did because I feel like I might have made a big mistake here, but we're not sure yet. The consequences are yet to come. So there is a couple of the terminals, the little computers you can interact with, and I got through most of World 5, and I went back to a terminal that was like beeping at me again, but I'd already used it, and it asked me if I wanted to delete my current user and make a new admin profile, even though I'd already done that, and I was like, um, I don't know why I'd want to do that. And so I just like backed out of the terminal and just didn't think about it. And I went back to it and it didn't give me the option to do that again because it was basically asking me like, "Hey, do you want to restart this personality test that you took to
Interesting.
try to get better results?" And I was like, "No,
I
mine's fine."
forgot about
And
that.
then when I came back, I was like, "Oh, it's not giving me the option to do it again." I figured it was one of those points in a game where it's like, "Hey, you probably should do this." And then it didn't happen and I was like, "Huh. That's a potential huge mistake." Or I did something really right and it was trying to get me to like not to get off the path. I don't know. But I was really upset because I was like, I feel like I missed out and the FOMO was real. So I'm just thinking, this could have been a mistake. This could be bad. So maybe in your playthrough, if you come across a terminal and they're like, "Hey, do you want to retake the personality test?" Maybe you might want to do it because I don't know what happens if you do. Um,
I feel
but
like I want to. That way we can compare
yeah,
the
kind of like what
differences.
happens, the differences. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing that I found in one of the puzzles in World 5, which is not a spoiler because I didn't figure out what the heck it does. But apparently I found like an altar for one of Elohim's apostles. And Josh, you mentioned you can find the QR codes around. I'd found a couple while I was playing this week.
On 5.
And yeah, I believe this one. Well, in 4, I think I went back and found one, but I did find a couple on 5. And I was running through one of the first puzzles in World 5, and if you like kind of walk, it's not really far outside of like the normal play area in the puzzle. It's just kind of hidden by like a bush or two, but there's like it almost looks like a water fountain that's kind of built into the wall, kind of like it's like made of looks like some sort of stone or porcelain, and you can interact with it. And so I did, and he sprayed one of those QR codes on it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, he
and
sprayed
when
it on there.
Yeah, so he sprayed it on there, and then another one appeared below it, and then Elohim came up and said something like, "This is something to the effect of this is for my disciples or my apostles or something, but you have to earn their help in order to use this." And I was like, I don't know how to earn their help. ADD, I'm going to finish the puzzle. So I don't know what's going on there, but apparently there's more like hidden things somewhere. Apparently you can do something to gain the help of his disciples. I don't know. Seems interesting though.
Josh, do you remember the puzzle you got stuck on because you thought you needed 2 sets of keys, but all you needed was a jammer?
Yeah.
That puzzle at the very start, I don't know if Andrew ever mentioned
Yeah.
this. Maybe he just didn't see
I
it. It
think-
has the thing where you paint the QR code on the
Do you
wall.
paint it or do you clean it? Because I thought he wiped it.
Well, it's something like that. It doesn't really
Yeah, something like that.
semantics,
'Cause-
but like
What world is that? 3?
3, and a QR code shows up and says exactly what Andrew just said. You have to earn earn something or
Earn their help or
I don't
something. Yeah.
to be honest, I don't even remember what those are for. It doesn't necessarily not mean they're important. I just don't remember. I haven't played this game in so many years.
So
but
I've used 3 of them.
3 of them, okay.
And the QR code on that one kind of was like the same thing. It was on the wall. It kind of looked like there was a little bowl shaped thing that kind of like popped out of the wall a little bit, and then it let you interact. And I thought he wiped it away, but maybe he painted it.
It's one or the
But
other. I don't remember.
Yeah,
the
I know
QR code
it's
comes up.
I know
And
it's semantics. I want to say he painted it himself though, because when I looked over the QR code again, it had some sort of quote, but it said it was from me. It had my
Yeah.
gamer tag on it.
Yeah.
So, and then
Well,
the other one was like someone else. So I think he put it there, but I don't know.
every time I followed him, it takes you to the Steam community. I've
Yeah.
looked at 3 of them that's taking me to Steam community, and they're just talking about that puzzle and whatnot.
Yeah, that's pretty much the extent of mine. I know I'm about to find a star in World 5, and I think it's in the main area, just because I did my whole I already found a random hidden switch by examining every square inch of this puzzle, and I decided, why don't I just examine every square inch of the main play area that you're not doing puzzles at? And I found a cube somewhere hidden in the back corner, and I was like, I gotta figure out how to use this cube. And that's I was a little bit little bit too into it, because that's when my phone went off and Josh was like, how come you're not on the podcast? And I was like, whoops, my bad, let me get there real quick.
Oh, so this is very fresh in both of your minds.
Oh,
Yeah. Ah, boy, I'm excited to see kind of what those subtle differences are going to be with how because it obviously just kind of advertises itself initially as just some puzzle game. And now that there's a couple things that we've done differently, that we're going to do differently, I'm pretty excited to see what kind of difference that makes long term. Maybe because at this point, since I've already quote messed up, not retaking that personality test, I'm full sending it the whole way through. They could ask me a million times, and unless I have to do it to advance, I'm sticking with my original answers.
Man.
And
I'm gonna
that's
say
just the
right
way it's
now,
gonna be.
not to cut you off, I'm so sorry.
You're good.
There are 3 endings to the game,
Okay, cool.
if that
Nice.
tells you anything. It might just have to do with things that like choices at the end of the game, but it also
Mhm.
could have to do with some of the earlier stuff. There's some things I remember, some things I don't. But I remember the ending of the game that I initially chose, and yeah, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more coming, but I'm looking
gonna
forward to it.
try. Yeah, me too. I'm really gonna try to go back, and because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's per game or just like actual play time in real life. But I'm gonna go back through, see if I can go back through my recordings for my playthrough for Talos Principle on my PlayStation, because it does passively record a lot of your gameplay.
Oh,
And if I can find what the synopsis was that I got after I took my personality test, I want to, because I really want to know what Josh's was too, because that's interesting to me. And because all I really remember is them telling me that I'm just a walking conundrum and I need to fix myself. And I'm really, if that's what's going to happen, and then they're like, hey, do you want to change your answers after it? It had me thinking, I was like, no, if I'm a walking conundrum, you're going to have to figure me out, you stupid robot god thing. Like, that's your fault, not mine. I am a real boy, despite what this game is telling me. But
this game is a
do
walking.
you have
Well, it's
anything?
crazy
Yeah.
you say that because the terminal.
I'm gonna go get some
And
tin foil, because Josh is all on his conspiracy theories today. I'll just
well,
kind
the
of.
terminal on the 4th, it was beeping when I came through, and so I read it. And it said, despite you acting like a person, you've been denied access.
Hmm.
So I'm really curious about that because it goes back to how many like petabytes of stuff was on the computer, and then it's
Yeah.
completely almost like
Most
broke
of it's
down,
corrupted.
and then
Yeah, because this world, whatever world you're in, whatever this land is that you're walking through and doing these puzzles, collecting these sigils, it doesn't really give you a full understanding of how long it has been since like
Yeah.
the contents of these. It seems like something happened. It feels like something happened at some point, and now you're
The
just
cat
like
happened.
exactly. You're just seeing the past through these terminals and really not much through what Elohim says, because it almost seems like Mr. Ibrahim is trying to like just get you on this one path and collect these sigils, and he doesn't want you looking outside the box and whatever. But it's very interesting because it's like this blend of like all these ancient like ruins, but like everything is glitching around you randomly, and like there's like this high technology, and it's a weird like it's like a very interesting like mix of the two, like the old and the new and whatever. But these terminals make it seem like it's been a very very long time, and that's why, because data just over time, like digital data just corrupts. It's just something that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so a petabyte is bigger than a terabyte, which is bigger than a gigabyte. So like the 10 or the like the 5-6 petabytes of data that was initially like in the Milton library, MLA, whatever, down to like what 10 gigabytes it said is left, is such an infinitesimally small amount of data compared to what was initially.
I mean, a terabyte is massive.
A terabyte is 1,000
terabytes
gigabytes, and five. So essentially, what is it, like 500,000 gigabytes? Essentially, is 5 petabytes, I believe. That's a lot of data, and it sounded like 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting, but it just seems like it's been a very very long time since something happened or whatever, because it feels almost apocalyptic, like post-apocalyptic
It does.
in a way, which is interesting because it's just you and you're a robot and you're guided by this voice. I just love the mystery. Like there's just this overarching mystery to the game, and I'm looking forward to like you
because it's
going through all the terminals throughout the game and getting like this little bits of like information that's fed to you. And
because it's just a massive collaboration of you reading, you knowing you're a robot because you can see your body, you can see your hands. You're talked to like it's either the beginning of time or the end of time by quote unquote your creator. But throughout the whole thing, you're reading human experiences, and the little voice things that you walk over where that woman talks to you is an account of that woman. So it's like
actual
all
voice
these
recordings
different,
of her, like saved.
different aspects. So it's different.
Yeah, I feel like so when I play a game that has some lore like this, I like to always think of what do I legitimately think the end of this could possibly be? Because in most games, usually if the game points out, oh, this is the big bad, it usually ends up being like two people above him or whatever. So I always try to come up with like a crackpot theory on what it could be, and then like what is my actual guess as to what happens. So my crackpot theory is that Elohim is that cat in the front of the game, and it's not actually some like robo god or something, because why in the world would that robot just be holding a cat? Wouldn't I have not seen anything living in this world yet, and I doubt that I will. So I'm thinking the cat, and since and again, crackpot theory, they've already mentioned Anubis a couple times, on at least once in one of these terminals. And Anubis, if it might be a dog god, but I know Egyptians also worshipped cats. So I'm wondering if this is like ancient
Sphinx.
Egyptian technology and they worship cats. So the cat that is being held is like the last remaining relative of the Sphinx. So that's my crackpot theory: is that cat is probably Elohim, and it's going to be kind of like that Silent Hill ending where you can like find the dog controlling everything behind the scenes. That's my crackpot theory. My actual guess probably has to do with like the few times that I've interacted with Elohim at this point. It's mainly been involving him, her, it, kind of telling you or whoever else was stuck in this program, like Alexandria or whoever is in there. I can't remember all their names, but it seems like he or she is like limiting what they or you can do. So I'm really thinking that you're going to have to go at some point. It probably has something to do with that like central tower that you pointed out in the beginning, Josh, the really big thing. I wouldn't be surprised if you have to like go back there and do something to defy Elohim. And because this definitely seems like a game where, since you have to think outside the box, I'm gonna say time travel's possible, but I don't know. That's a bit crackpotty. But I just think you're gonna have to get to that center terminal or that center tower, and then do something and be like, screw you, Elohim. I don't have to listen to you. You don't control me. And then, it might even cycle back to like the beginning of the game. Because I've played a couple of games. Bastion is one of them where like it's technically a game that's a never ending loop. You get to the end of it and you have to make a choice. I won't spoil it in case you decide to play it or see it, but you have to make a choice. And one of the choices you make, which you may think is the good or bad choice, it basically cycles you back and puts you into like this time loop of like you made this choice and you have to make this choice because you want to like help other people or whatever, but it's getting you stuck in this loop to where you have to do this over and over again. And this game is like outside of the box, so I could see something like that happening. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to end with me telling Elohim to like go somewhere else because I don't like him, and that's going to have some sort of consequence. But that's just
I don't have a crackpot theory,
Hmm.
but that tower is very precious to Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
He, like, in the
That's where they keep
beginning,
the
made
cat.
it very clear to leave it alone.
That's
And
where
I
they
don't
leave the
have any
cats, man.
theory to go along with the the
Keep going.
Egyptian stuff, because they do, at least the first three worlds, talk about it a lot in the terminals.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of think all of these worlds are, maybe you're in a computer simulation and they're giving you all these different aspects to teach the robots living AI. So you start off as the beginning of AI, and Elohim is supposed to be your creator. You go through all these trials to learn what people are and the world is and all this. And then at the end of that, you have access to the tower. And at the top of the tower is where you're rejected as bad AI or you're welcomed into the world with people.
That's very interesting.
I can see that. I can see that.
I like
I
that.
think when you mentioned that, real quick, and I'll let you talk, Nathan. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
When you mentioned that, I don't know if it's because maybe just movies have conditioned me to think it, but it also the thought popped into my mind that there's a good chance this is some sort of like what's the word I'm looking for? Some sort of mind transfer experiment. Maybe people are trying to, it seems like in most timelines of any type of media that I see, what ends up happening is humans are trying to figure out how to live forever.
Yeah.
Um, and so maybe they're like trying to transfer their minds into these little robot vessels. And, over time, you might remind yourself of who you are, but you have to like figure out how to function first. So maybe that tower in the center is something like um, this is where we store all the memories and stuff, and you're not supposed to stumble upon who you actually are. But that was, yeah, when you said that, that kind of made me think of it.
Yeah, well, when I first played this game and we got to that point where like we see the tower and he's like, "You will not go up the tower." Like he pretty much like says like that's not for you, that sort of thing. He basically forbids you from going up the tower, but he wants you to go through and
Which
like catch the
means,
sigils and everything. Exactly. That's probably
yeah,
is that kind of like where your thought process went of like defying him because it
yeah,
gives you the option to.
yeah.
Um so it really,
Maybe
I
we're the
mean,
cat.
there
Oh
are
my gosh. Because you're telling a cat not to do something, and then they just
and
immediately
then knock
understand you, and
something,
they're like,
yeah.
yeah,
or they, push open the sunroom door no matter what you do to keep them from doing it, and they get in and eat your monstera.
Sounds personal.
No, it's not. But when I first played, there's so many like biblical parallels that are
References,
very,
yeah.
very like obvious and intentional. The game starts off, you wake up, dude's like, "What's up? I'm Elohim," Hebrew name for
You can
for
call me
God,
God.
and I'm also your creator. And it's just like it starts off like very heavy-handed, like very obvious, like you are speaking to God, and
Mhm.
he is speaking to you, or because you're not really speaking to him. And then he gives you a task, and you're gonna start completing that task and whatever. But like if you start a world 2, you leave the island, go into the water, he starts talking about the words that he created and these worlds that
Mhm.
he created for you, and then like you like glitch out and basically rewind back onto the island or whatever. It's like it seems very obvious that there's a certain path he wants you to take and everything. And it just really, the tower makes me think of like Adam and Eve eating of the fruit that we're
Mhm.
not supposed to. They were forbidden from the fruit. They could do whatever else they wanted to, and but then they were tempted to go climb that tower. So it's kind of like
Well, I immediately went in the tower as soon as I found it. I
like,
was like, "Is this the tower?"
I love you. If you look up from the bottom, it's like absurdly tall. I love it. It's so cool.
It is, and then you go inside, and it's like 9th floor. I'm like, no, no. There's got to be some more buttons somewhere.
Yeah, that's something that'll be like unlocked and understood a little
It's
bit more
it's
over
interesting
time.
because we all three have different perspectives, and it's like the beginning. He treats you like a kid, like,
Mhm.
"Morning, I'm your dad." He wants to keep you on this path because I'm your dad. You're supposed to go this way. Learn the lessons I have for you to learn.
Mhm.
Like, don't go to this tower because you're not ready for it yet. You're not there yet. You're not ready. Go through the rest of everything that I have set for you, and then I'll let you have access to the tower when I think you're ready. So
Yeah,
it could
absolutely.
honestly go a different way because all three of us just easily came up with different.
Yeah, there's all these different theories on it, and like I said, there's multiple endings to the game, so who knows where
Yeah.
things could go. Like I'm gonna be honest, I played this game once through, I thought it was fantastic. I never took the time to go back and try to do the other endings, so I have things to learn as well, which is exciting to me because I
Well,
never
that
looked it up.
that leads me to a question, and you may not want to answer it because it might spoil some things. Um, is this a type of game? So I've played some games where there are multiple endings, but there are multiple endings that are based on your actions that can still occur simultaneously. So, like, could you get all three quote endings at the same time,
I don't believe
or
so.
is it you're gonna? Okay, cool,
I don't believe so.
cool.
I believe it's a
Okay.
separate but I also think it's the kind of thing where you can like if you went back into your save file after completing the game, you could then choose to go the other direction or something like that.
Yeah, I
Sort of
gotcha.
thing. So you don't
Okay.
have to play the whole game through again to like try the other endings
So
and
are
see how
you
the game.
saying that your choices throughout the game don't affect your end game?
I
It's what
don't
happens at
I
the
don't
end
remember
that.
enough
Okay.
because I don't know how much like the personality. I have to assume if they give you all these options, there are different outcomes for your personality
I
test.
mean,
Like,
I
what
feel
would be
like
the
there's a
point of it
reason. Yeah,
otherwise?
why
Yeah.
give you a personality test and then ask you to do it again, and then if you ignore it, not give you the option to do it again?
Yeah, I'm just gonna be
Oh
honest.
well,
Like
I could definitely tell you. I mean, that could very easily just be a misdirect on purpose. Why? In Christianity, there's a saying that's if the devil isn't bothering you, there's a reason why. Sometimes if you can just think that you're going along doing whatever you should be doing, you know, maybe bad things aren't going to happen to you because maybe you're just doing things the way that said bad thing wants you to do it anyways. So yeah, I'll give you something to pique your attention just away from what I want you to actually do. So it could be something like that, but it might not be. Don't know.
Do you
so.
think the stars affect the ending, or is it just a little bonus?
That's why I thought maybe you could do multiple endings at the same time because I remember
Mm,
Nathan saying in the first one that you don't have to get all the stars to beat the game. It's just like an extra thing. So that's why I was thinking, well, maybe if I get all the stars and then get all these other pieces or whatever, maybe I could happen simultaneously or something. I don't know.
Maybe that's the thing, though. There's some things I don't know. I think
Yeah.
there might. I think I got all the stars my first playthrough, but it's possible I didn't finish them. I don't know what. I don't remember enough. Like I said, it's been years. However, I'm fairly certain there is a reason to collect all the stars apart from just to do it. That's what I'll say.
That's what I'm thinking. I kind of want to experience it from both ways, where someone doesn't get all the stars and someone does, to see how things differ. But I also don't want to miss out on something important.
I don't think there would be. I think there would only be a gain from getting all the stars and no loss from not getting all the stars. I think, like, you wouldn't have. I don't think it would affect the endings necessarily. But there
Okay.
might be an ending that requires all the stars. Like I'm saying, I only know one of them. So if I'm gonna do it in my playthrough simply because I enjoy it and I enjoy that like aspect of the game and trying to get them and thinking outside the box and whatnot. But I know that there's like an extra level like that's harder, like an extra world or something that you have to have a certain amount of stars to do or something like that. So that might have to do with one of the endings. I really don't know, but yeah, there's a lot more to come. So I think it's gonna be good. You guys are thinking very deeply into this, which I'm very thankful about because like you're immersing yourself in this world and trying to understand it with the information given to you, drip fed to you via these terminals and whatnot and voice recordings. But I'm glad you seem to be enjoying it so far, and there's just more worlds to conquer. So we'll
No doubt about it.
definitely talk more about our experiences this week, next week. So
Yeah, and my brain's hurting because I've been, I've been too much crackpot theory. So why don't we do some like not so in-depth thinking and just dumb thoughts? And why don't we just start this fantasy draft, bro?
fantasy
I'm
draft
done with it. Ba-da-ba. So I'm gonna be honest on the podcast and say I definitely didn't come up with the fantasy draft this week because I don't even know what it is. So
I think Google
who
did.
was on that, Chief?
I initially was going to do a fantasy draft for our favorite movies, but the beginning of this podcast gave me an idea.
Oh, here we go.
Ad-lib.
Cliffhanger.
I'll see you next week. No, the fantasy draft this week is our favorite crock pot meals.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Oh man, I don't know if I know enough to decide, but
So Andrew will go
enjoy-
first, then Nathan, then me, Nathan, Andrew.
So my favorite crock pot meal. I have two that definitely do come to mind. I'm gonna take this one first just because I've done it more often and it's, I don't want the new to overtake the old just because it's new and fresh in my brain. But I love making Mississippi roast.
Oh
in a
my
hot
gosh,
crock
you
pot.
took mine, you freaking
It's so good. So
Oh.
delicious. Like it's super simple. It's like 5 ingredients. You just gotta have a bunch of butter, a bunch of meat, and it makes some gravy and pepper
Oh
cheese, and
my
it's
gosh.
delicious.
And you can do so many different things with it. You can make sandwiches out of it.
Mhm.
You could just put it on mashed potatoes.
That's usually what I do. I'm the potatoes guy.
Man, you
Mhm.
little jerk. Now I
So
gotta come up
get
with
wrecked,
two.
kid. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Nathan, just get yours over with.
Take the
I'm gonna
second
be
one.
honest. I don't like come up with the recipes and the meals too often in this partnership. So I feel a little bit out of place here. But however, I just like a solid throw some chicken and spices and salsa straight up in the crock pot, like good old
I've
big old
seen
like
that.
yeah, like just straight up chicken breast, throw it in there, cook it for however long that takes, and then you just eat it. It's delicious. I think it's great. And it's also great because like we'll normally use the crock pot for like making healthier meals when we're actually trying to be healthier with our eating and stuff. And chicken's always a good one.
That's one thing I hadn't tried because I'm not a big fan of salsa, but I've heard people rave about like
Real good.
chicken. Yeah, chicken with salsa, and it just sits there for like 6 hours. I'm like, I don't know, man. Sounds crappy to me, if you ask me. Yours sucks. Josh, your turn.
I hated
Mine,
yours.
since you took mine, is going to be Swedish meatballs with
Ooh.
egg
Ooh,
noodles.
I forgot about that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Dang.
It's really good. You don't even have to make the meatballs. You can buy like the Walmart ones, and it still cooks for like 6 to 8 hours on low.
Mm-hmm.
It's delicious.
All right. What about your second?
Goodness. Oh,
It's a hard one.
I don't know, man. Those were my two. I was hoping nobody would say Mississippi, and Andrew starts off just taking Mississippi.
You can take it. Take it. Mississippi roast.
Not allowed. That's the rules. You can't pick the same as
man.
someone else.
All right, make something up.
Think of another crockpot meal, homie.
He's Googling
It was your fault for making me go
He's
first.
Googling it.
Yes, what a bum. What a bum.
I eat salad every day.
Crockpot salad? Ew.
No, no.
Could you imagine just wilting lettuce slowly over like 8 hours? I kind of want to do it now.
Wilted lettuce, period, is gross.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what else. Like, I used to live with the Myers a lot, and they were very
They're
big.
crockpot fiends, man.
Yeah, I can't ever remember what Uncle James. Beef ribs. I couldn't think of the
Ooh,
name.
ribs
of
are
them.
good in the crock pot. I mean, it's
Yeah.
definitely not as good as Mississippi roast because
Well,
that's
no,
why I
not
picked it
like a
first,
slab
because
of beef
it's amazing.
ribs. Those little the short ribs. You know what I'm talking about? They're like this big and they're real thick. And you got to brown them first, and you throw them in the crock pot for a while. Those
Okay,
are
I
good.
thought when you said when you were telling me not actual ribs, I was like, is this man talking about those like boneless
No,
rib patties we used to get in school, like those disgusting things?
no,
Never
not the
put one of those in
McRib.
the crock pot. Yeah,
No, not a slab of meat ribs, like the short ribs that are like this big.
yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
those. Nathan, what is your second?
We haven't made it in a while, but it is absolutely delicious. It's called crack chicken. I promise you, it doesn't have
Ooh,
actual
yeah.
crack
Oh,
in
it's
it.
good.
But you know
I
some
forgot
crack
that I
chicken.
made it.
Yes, sir.
I've made it.
Yes,
Yep.
sir. And it is absolutely phenomenal. And I don't remember everything that goes in it, but I know it is so good in the end.
All right, Andrew.
We
Nice.
normally, I think we normally
You're
like we cook it in that, and then we add like noodles to it and everything. It's such a good meal.
Dope.
a little
Dope.
stealer of meals.
I'm sorry, you mean
We
pioneer,
actually had
because I was
pork
first.
shoulder in the crock pot today. That was really good.
That does sound good. That's similar to what my second pick was going to be, because I think a lot of people use pork shoulder for it. I know traditionally, a lot of where the dish originates from, they want to use like oxtail and another sort of meat. I just can't remember what the cut is. But I recently found a recipe for birria tacos that are really good in the crock
I
pot.
love burrito tacos.
Yeah, and I mean
Yeah.
crockpot, it just makes it so simple, you know. Aside from that's the reason that I didn't want to make those tacos is because it just seemed like there was a whole process to it. But outside, you know, when you make it in the crock pot, you pretty much put the meat in the pot, you blend up all the ingredients pretty much, and then let it cook in its juices, and then and then of
Andrew,
course you just kind of
my wife has all this peppers that I bought them off of Amazon. The big peppers that they want you to toast and then you grind and to make the liquid.
yeah.
I
Mhm.
bought a whole like pack of them off of Amazon. So if
And
you
you
make
said
it, we
they're
have
with
it.
your wife?
Yes.
I am going to FaceTime you when I go on a trip in my favorite rocket ship to go to your wife's house. And I'm going to be like, listen, we're making these tacos and you're going to be jelly.
She's gonna be like, "Why are you here? Where's Josh? Did he come with
I'm going
you?"
to
And you're
be
like,
like,
"No,
shut
I
up, it's
just
taco
want."
time.
Yeah, it's taco time, baby. They're like, please
Nathan,
don't
have
call
you
me
ever had
baby. That's
burrito?
reserved for my husband. What?
Have you ever? No, I bought them. Have you ever had burrito tacos?
Me? No.
Yeah. Oh, you have to.
No.
Do you
I
know what they
haven't.
are?
It's
Badia.
It's this huge piece
No, I
of meat
don't.
that they take peppers, tomatoes, onions, garlic, some spices, they toast it, and then they shred it in water, and then they put it in this big pot.
Oh.
They brown the meat, and then they put that meat in that mixture they just made, and it
That
cooks for like
consomme,
8
yeah.
hours.
That sounds beautiful.
Then it shreds apart. They take that consomme, they pull some aside, but then they dip their tortillas in the consomme, put it in a skillet, fry it, put the taco meat in there, the burrito,
And some
this
cheese, some Oaxaca
beautiful cheese, fold it, put cheese on top,
my gosh.
and they grill it. And then they put cilantro and onion on it, which
Ew.
makes it so much better. I like it.
Are you
Hey,
one of those people that
Yes,
thinks cilantro
it's horrible.
tastes like soap?
I hate
Soap?
it. I'm
so
absolutely. I have that gene.
Cilantro and
and
onion for
it,
Mexican food.
It negatively affects my life like once every week to a couple of weeks because I have to deal with cilantro being in something and have it taken out or what. It
It's
sucks.
so good.
I can't say
But
I
then
blame you though.
you
I'm a
dip it.
rather picky eater personally.
You dip it like a
Yeah,
French
it's
dip.
kind of like I was gonna say
Mm.
it's like a Mexican's version of a French dip, and it is delicious.
It's so good.
What's funny is I'm not even that picky of an eater, but like if something
Oh,
tastes
I
like
am.
soap, I'm not going to eat that crap. And
That's
I wish
fair.
I
I don't
liked
think
it.
tastes like
My wife
soap.
loves
I gotta
cilantro.
eat it by itself.
No, Josh. If cilantro is in a dish, I will taste it and it will like ruin the flavor of the dish. My wife in the past.
Do you literally think it tastes like soap?
Yes.
It's a legitimate thing. Like there is.
It's like a
group
gene.
of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
it
it
just
makes me very sad
Oh.
because
Yeah.
it seems pointless. Like why does this have to taste? Why can't I taste it good like the other good people? I'm part of the bad people, and I don't want that. It sucks. But yeah, I'm not really like normally very picky, and then cilantro comes along, and I'm like, I gotta then say, well, I'm actually am picky because get that out of here. So yeah, that's a thing, and
There's a gene that causes you to think
Yes.
cilantro tastes like soap.
Mhm.
It's stupid.
Yep.
Why is that?
That
Well,
is
I'm
nuts.
wondering if
What-
everyone has that gene. It's just that some of us are actually unknowingly attracted to the taste of soap.
Buoyant.
That's why it floats. That's why they float.
Good
Unless
night,
the
folks. We
buoyants are
love
the
you.
ones
See you
that
next
sink.
week.
Yeah.